Hi, this is Derek. Welcome to my channel, Career Mindset. And this podcast basically looks at different individuals that work in different environments, and it basically looks at how they became. So what this aims to do is catalog people's roots from where they started from, and how they became what they are. So this one will start from myself, and it will then go on, and the aim is to interview different people in different sectors, ladies and gentlemen, in different, such as doctors and nurses, engineers, from all across the world, and just catalog their journey on how they became, what obstacles do they face, what degrees do they have, if any, what experience do they have, and just show people that it is possible to become anything that they want to do, but you just need a mindset to do it. Yeah. And so this one is about myself. I'm an IT consultant and contractor. I've been working in IT now for over 20 years, all across Europe. So my journey is one that is interesting, but you know, it's possible no matter where you come from, whether you're from China, whether you're from India, whether from Nigeria or Ghana. I'm actually in Ghana now, recording from my home, from my house in Ghana, and yeah, and I'm actually working here. So I'm recording from there now. So what I'm actually going to do during this process is ask 10 questions on how I became, and these 10 questions will hopefully reveal to you what it took, what journey it took. If there's anything within that's missing, you can please send it over. Send me the questions that you'd like to know, and I'll try my best to answer all your questions. But yeah, this starts off with me. Okay, so how I became an IT consultant contractor. So the first one is, how did you get started? How did you get started? So when I was younger, I was always interested in IT. I had a Commodore 64, Atari STE, and those that had it would know, the one that this little console that you had, and you plugged it back of a monitor or TV, and then you played games and you learned different things. So that's how I started, and when I had that, it was kind of interesting for me, because I used to not just play games, but I used to wonder what was behind those games. How did these games, how were they created? So these sort of questions interested me, and I kind of wanted to know what it took for those games. So that's how I started. Initially, there was a genuine interest within IT. There was a genuine interest in terms of knowing and understanding what was behind it. Obviously, when I went to school, there wasn't any computers there at that time, so it took a lot of time for that to evolve and develop. Okay, so number 2, did you have a natural interest in what you do? The answer is yes. I had a natural interest. I wondered and was interested in digital, in IT, in computers. So I wanted to know, and I tried things practically, and I read things, and it really interested. I didn't know I was going to actually be in that career, but there was a genuine interest. So what advice I'll give is that whatever you want to do, whatever you want to attain to, make sure that it's a genuine interest. Make sure that you're interested in that field, and it's not just something that you're thinking is going to earn you money. Yeah, make sure you're interested in that field. Number three, how long have you been doing this for? Yeah, I've been doing it for over 20 years now. And yeah, it's been a long journey, but I started off working obviously as a permanent employee within IT and learning my field, learning my trade through working with companies and I was working for I think 4 or 5 years um, for companies before I kind of embarked and specialized. The key thing within the IT is that you need to specialize in the field. You cannot. Specialization is the key, really. You need to be a specialist, but you've got to make sure that speciality is a requirement, because you can specialize in certain things that's obsolete. So you got to make sure that place, there's still a requirement. Okay, what's your average earnings? That is interesting. As a contractor, my earnings can vary depending on the contract, depending on negotiation. It can vary from 450 per day up until around 700, 750 per day. Some even earn 1,000 per day. Would you believe? Yes, it's possible. Some do 2 contracts per day. It's possible. So, you know, so averagely, let's say if I work for a year, I could be earning from between 85k to 150 UK pounds for that year. But what you got to remember is that you got to think about the taxes and other things that come into it as well, such as your own training, because obviously as a contractor, you have to do your own training. The training, you don't get the same training as a permanent employee. When you go into places, you got to come ready, you got to come knowing, training, and also pensions. You got to pay your own pension. So there's a lot of things which you have to understand, that as a contractor, you have to think that have enough money saved for those things. But yeah, there's money to be made there if you know the right contracts, or if you've got a relevant experience. Number 5, what do you hate about your career? Hate is a strong word. I don't think I hate anything per se, but hey, hate, no. Some challenges that I do have, obviously, is the whole, I have to train myself, and sometimes you go into an environment and you feel alien. You don't feel accepted because you're coming as a contractor, and some of the permanent employees think that you're obviously earning more. Yes, you're earning more money most of the time than them, but it's for a shorter period of time, and so they don't treat you well in terms of helping you to achieve what you're there to achieve. So that can be a challenging time, and often sometimes when you finish a contract, you don't necessarily get another contract straight off, you see. So you've got to make sure that you're always prepared, your skill base is sharpened, and even before you finish your contract, let's say if you've got a 6 months contract, and as it gets to the fifth month, if there's no attempt to renew your contract by then, you've got to now engage yourself and begin to look for alternative contract before it ends, because once it ends, that's it, it's cut off, you finished. So you've got to make sure that you prepare yourself for what's to come. What training did you do? Okay, training is key. You've got to make sure you train yourself digitally. I mean, there's so much training available nowadays. So you've got to do a lot of certifications. Depending on what you do, you've got to pay for that as well. You've got to keep up with the trend and know what is coming up within your sector. I work in the DevOps area. I work with cloud. I work within the infrastructure area. So I always have to keep up with with what's going on within that sector, and kind of know ahead, and even begin to practically have my own virtual environment so that I can learn ahead of time and be ahead of the game. And that's key. It's not easy. It's not easy. So you've got to be prepared to be learning, to be training yourself, to be sharpening yourself every time. Do you need a degree? I've got a degree in IT. However, you don't necessarily need a degree for IT. I know guys that do not have degrees that are doing contracting, that are doing pretty well. The field, the sector looks at experience more so than a degree. Although a degree will get you in the door, but past that, they look at what can you do, what can you provide for us, what solutions can you solve. That's what they look for more so than a degree. I'm not saying degree is not important. However, in my opinion, experience and know-how and practically knowing the stuff is much more sorted after than a degree. Okay. How many companies have you worked for? Companies I work for, between, must have been around about between 15 and 20 companies within Europe, and within EMEA as a whole. I tend to jump. I mean, as I said, you could be working for a month, you could be working for 3 months to 6 months. Within a year, you could be working for maybe 4 to 5 companies. It's possible. So, the churning of different companies I've worked for a lot of companies, a lot of banks, a lot of consultancy companies, gas companies, telecom companies, you name it. I've kind of worked for them. So it's interesting. What location do you work for? And this is key. As I said, I'm here now in Ghana, in West Africa, in my home, and it's while it's in the UK, it's still freezing as far as I'm aware. But here I'm hot. I've got the air condition on. I've got my own setup here. I've got a fast internet, so I'm able to work from here and anywhere else. In actual fact, you can be in India, you can be in China, you can be in Nigeria, in Ghana, and still work for companies in Europe, in UK, even US, as long as you can solve the problem, as long as you know what you're doing, and that's the key thing here. Okay, location should not matter, as long as there's a requirement. There's lots of requirement for IT personnel all around. So just recognize that the key thing is here is what do you know, what can you offer. It's not about location here. For me, I'd rather work from the beach. I work from the beach, I work from any environment, as long as I've got my fast broadband, and I can connect and do what I need to do. There are times when there is a requirement to work from the office, in cases such as when it's a secure location, governmental location, mandatory location that you need to be there, and sometimes you need to be there, but most of the time you don't. I've worked from home for the last 3 years, and even before COVID I was still working from home some of the time. So for me, I always look to that. It helps with the family dynamics. It helps to be around, take your kids to school and so forth, and be around for them, and come to Ghana and do certain things and projects on the side. But yeah, finally, if you had a chance to go back, what would you do different? What would I do different? So, well, I've got my own limited company. I wish I'd done a lot more with that, and what and expanded that a lot more. Maybe there's room to do that, but governmentally they made it a lot difficult to work from your limited company. Most companies that I consult to do not want you to work through your limited company. So yeah, I wish I'd done a lot more with my limited company. and also the ability to train and give back to others in terms of teaching. You know, I guess I need to do that in terms of my experience. So yeah, I mean, there's more room for that to be done. But ultimately, my advice is that no matter where you are, if you're undergraduate, a graduate, if you're in a workplace and you're tired of it and you want to switch careers, it's possible. You just need to apply yourself. You just need to kind of set yourself up and focus and decide. If you need more advice, please send me comments down there of other questions that you'd want me to have. But going forward, I will be interviewing more guys in IT, and not just IT. There'll be guys in medical field, engineers. There'll be doctors, lawyers. You name it, there will be, and they won't just be in a locality, because now with verge of digital, you can interview people from anywhere. So there'll be people that'll be interviewing from Trinidad and Tobago, from obviously Ghana, from obviously UK and Europe and so forth. So US as well potentially. So yeah. Please give me a comment. Tell me what you think. Please subscribe to the channel. But there is a lot more to give. There's a lot more to come, basically. So this is it. Thank you. Goodbye.